Good afternoon, girls. Today we start off with conservation of biodiversity in situ and ex situ. So we must know the meaning of these two words, in situ and ex situ. So what is in situ conservation? In situ conservation is conserving a species in its own environment by creating national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, with each distinctive ecosystem included in the network. Such a network would preserve the total diversity of life of a region. So, in situ conservation means conserving animals and plants in their own environment, whereas ex situ conservation is conservation of endangered species outside its natural habitat in a carefully controlled situation, such as in botanical gardens for plants or zoological parks for animals, all within the care of humans, where there is expertise to multiply the species in artificially managed conditions. So, the ex situ conservation is conservation of plants and animals in botanical gardens and zoological parks outside their own environment. Now let us talk about national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and biosphere reserves. So what are national parks? National parks provide protection to the entire ecosystem, that is flora, that is plants, fauna, animals, landscape, etc. of that region. The national parks not only conserve wildlife but also provide a diversion of environmental and landscape heritage in a manner that does not harm it, in order to provide enjoyment to future generations. National parks are given a greater degree of protection, with human activity greatly restricted. So human activity or humans, people are not allowed to visit national parks. It will be done in a very restricted manner. If you take wildlife sanctuary is the place that is reserved exclusively for wildlife use, which includes animals like mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, insects, etc., especially those in danger of extinction, and the rare ones, so that they can live in peace and keep their population viable. Now, biosphere reserves are protected large areas of natural habitat that includes a national park and animal wildlife sanctuary. There are around 18 biosphere reserves in India, created to demonstrate a balanced relationship between people and nature. So, to put it in a tabular form, it'll be easy if we give it as differences between wildlife sanctuaries and national parks in this way. If you look at wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, the differences: in wildlife sanctuaries, human activities are allowed, whereas in national parks, not allowed. The main aim is to protect a particular flora or fauna in wildlife sanctuaries, whereas in national parks can include flora, fauna, or any other objects of historical or geographical significance. In wildlife sanctuaries, there are no fixed boundaries, whereas in national parks, boundaries are fixed and defined. Wildlife sanctuaries are open to general public, whereas national parks are not usually open to the public. Wildlife sanctuaries are formed by the order of central or the state government, whereas national parks are formed by the state or central legislature, and wildlife sanctuaries can be upgraded to a national park, whereas a national park cannot be downgraded to a sanctuary. So here you can see national parks are bigger than wildlife sanctuaries. Now, what are the different wildlife sanctuaries and national parks we have in India? As of 2020, there are 105 national parks and 544 wildlife sanctuaries in India. They include a variety of ecosystems and habitats. Some have been created in order to protect highly endangered species of wild plants and animals found nowhere else in the world. So let us talk about the wildlife sanctuaries and national parks we have in India. Okay, so I have divided it according to the place where these wildlife sanctuaries and national parks are found. So small number A, in the Himalayan region. Okay, so there are wildlife sanctuaries and national parks in the Himalayan region also. So the Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh is the largest sanctuary and is one of the last homes of the snow leopard. Then we have another famous sanctuary, the Dachigam Sanctuary is the only place where the raw hangul or Kashmir stag is found. Okay, this is a family of deer. Then in the Terai region, okay, as we go down from the mountainous region to the plains, we get the Terai region. So there are many sanctuaries which are and national parks which are found. For example, if you take Kaziranga National Park in Assam, it is famous and home to the one-horned rhino. Apart from it, it is home of elephant, gaur, wild boar, swamp deer, hog deer, as well as tigers and leopards. If you take the Manas sanctuary in Assam also, it includes the golden langur and the very rare pygmy hog, which is the smallest wild boar in the world. And if you take Jaldapara sanctuary in West Bengal, it is home to the Asiatic one-horned rhino. You'll find elephants there, Royal Bengal tigers, leopards, etc. So I have not given the names of all the animals and also plants which are found in these national parks and sanctuaries. Okay, the rest of the uh, you can do your reference, all right, by looking into books and all right. You can do reference of other animals which are found in these national parks and sanctuaries. And I have not given the names of all the sanctuaries and national parks. Okay, so you please do reference for that. And in central India, we have Kanha of Madhya Pradesh, which has wild tigers. It is the only protected area where a subspecies of Barasingha is found. Okay, this is a family of deer. Then in the desert area, we have Bharatpur in Rajasthan. It is one of the most famous water bird sanctuaries in the world. This is the only home of the rare Siberian crane which migrates to India during the winters. Then we have the Desert National Park in the Thar Desert, which has great numbers of black buck, nilgai and chinkara. All these are deer. The great Indian bustard, which is a bird, lives in these arid lands. Then we have Ranthambore Sanctuary in Rajasthan, which is famous for the conservation of tigers. Then the sanctuaries of Great and Little Rann of Kutch in Gujarat protects the rare wild ass, flamingos, the star tortoise and the desert fox. In Gujarat, the Gir sanctuary protects the last population of Asiatic lion. It is only in Gir forest you have the Asiatic lion. It is also home of large herds of cheetal, sambar and nilgai. In South India, the Nilgiri Hills have forest sanctuaries protecting the Indian elephants. We have in coastal areas two important sanctuaries to preserve coastal ecosystem are the Chilka Lake in Orissa and Point Calimere in Tamil Nadu. The Sundarbans in West Bengal protect the mangrove forests, and animals like tigers, leopards and spotted deer are also found here. And in islands, island ecosystems are preserved in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The next we go on to value of diversity. Okay.